Picture a battlefield, unlike any in human history. There are no shouted commands echoing across the terrain, no soldiers nervously gripping their weapons, no human hand hovering over a trigger, weighing the gravity of taking a life. Instead, the only sounds are the eerie whirring of drones overhead and the mechanical hum of autonomous machines methodically scanning the landscape below. On this battlefield, machines have become the arbiters of life and death. In milliseconds, faster than a human can blink, targets are identified through complex sensor arrays. Decisions are executed by sophisticated algorithms, and lives are extinguished with cold precision. There is no hesitation, no second guessing, no pangs of conscience. This scenario is not science fiction. This is the emerging reality of modern warfare. Artificial intelligence is fundamentally transforming armed conflict from a human-driven endeavor into something far more chilling. A calculated game of algorithms, sensors, and split-second automated decisions executed without human compassion or judgment. Today on AI Exposed, we are taking a look at this heavy-loaded subject. Machines that kill autonomous weapons systems, ominously referred to as killer robots, are weapons platforms capable of independently identifying, selecting, and engaging targets without human intervention once deployed. While semi-autonomous weapons still require humans at critical decision points, fully autonomous systems already exist, and their capabilities are rapidly expanding. These weapons manifest in disturbing variety. Small loitering munitions hover above battlefields, waiting for targets before striking. Robotic sentry guns scan borders with tireless vigilance. Unmanned ground vehicles navigate hostile terrain. Underwater drones patrol beneath the waves. Aerial drones survey from above. Perhaps most unsettling are drone swarms, coordinated groups of dozens or hundreds of autonomous units capable of executing synchronized attacks with devastating effectiveness. What fundamentally distinguishes these systems from traditional remote-controlled weapons is their decision-making capability. Traditional drones require a human pilot operating from thousands of miles away. Autonomous weapons, however, make their own choices. They identify potential targets, navigate complex environments, adapt to changing battlefield conditions, and execute lethal strikes based entirely on A-to-I calculations, without pausing for human approval. And here's the most terrifying truth. These machines are not confined to research laboratories. They are already active, already operational, already making decisions on real battlefields around our world right now. First blood. When AI made the call, the year 2020 marked a watershed moment in military history. During the Libyan civil conflict, Turkish-made Kargu 2 quadcopter drones reportedly engaged targets autonomously without requiring human authorization. If confirmed, this represented the first time in human warfare that machines independently chose who would live and who would die on an actual battlefield. This wasn't an isolated incident. Israel has deployed Harop loitering munitions, grimly nicknamed suicide drones, designed to seek out and destroy radar installations and high-value targets with minimal human oversight. These weapons loiter in the air for hours, autonomously searching for targets matching their programmed parameters, then diving into them in lethal kamikaze attacks. American defense contractor AeroVironment produces Switchblade drones that combine portability with autonomous capabilities. These compact weapons hover over areas, independently identify potential threats using onboard sensors and AI, and dive toward targets, sometimes without requiring direct human authorization for the final strike. Even stationary systems blur the line between human and machine. South Korea's SGRA, one-sentry guns positioned along the demilitarized zone, continuously track movement, identify and classify potential targets, and possess the technical capability to fire autonomously. The threshold between human control and machine autonomy grows thinner with each technological advancement. Each example proves one chilling fact. Autonomous killing is no longer theoretical. It's happening now, quietly expanding across battlefields worldwide. How AI makes life or death decisions. What grants these machines their terrifying autonomy? Advanced sensors and sophisticated algorithms working in concert. High-resolution cameras, radar systems, infrared sensors, and LiDAR technology continuously feed massive data streams into AI models trained on millions of images. These models attempt to classify objects in real time: combatant or civilian, military vehicle or civilian car, threat or innocent bystander. Weapons developers categorize these systems into different autonomy levels. Human-in-the-loop systems require human operators to authorize each strike. Human-on-the-loop systems allow machines to act autonomously, but humans can intervene and override decisions. Most concerning are human-out-of-the-loop systems, where machines act entirely independently without human involvement. Swarm technology represents a quantum leap in threat level. Imagine hundreds or thousands of small autonomous units operating as a unified, coordinated entity. These swarms communicate with each other, coordinate complex attacks, adapt tactics mid-operation, and overwhelm sophisticated defense systems through sheer numbers and unpredictable behavior. Yet, AI systems remain fundamentally imperfect. Sensors malfunction or are fooled by weather, camouflage, or countermeasures. Algorithms trained on biased datasets can misclassify targets, potentially identifying civilians as combatants based on flawed pattern recognition. Technical malfunctions happen, software contains bugs, and unexpected situations cause catastrophic failures. On a battlefield, imperfection means innocent people dying and mass casualties resulting from machine error rather than human malice. Crossing the moral line. Autonomous weapons force us to confront a profound moral abyss. When a machine kills civilians in error, who bears responsibility? The programmer who wrote the flawed algorithm? The military commander who deployed the weapon? The political leadership that authorized its use? The AI itself? Our existing legal and moral frameworks offer no clear answers. International humanitarian law demands that combatants distinguish between military targets and civilians, that attacks be proportionate, and that there be accountability when rules are violated. A2I systems struggle profoundly with these nuanced requirements. Misidentifications, biased training data, or flawed algorithmic logic can lead to catastrophic civilian casualties, war crimes committed through machine error. Autonomous weapons also risk lowering the threshold for initiating armed conflict. Human soldiers tire, feel fear, and must cope with the psychological weight of killing. Machines experience none of these constraints. They never tire, never fear, never hesitate. This absence of human limitations may make leaders more willing to deploy force and escalate conflicts, knowing their autonomous weapons can operate indefinitely without human costs. Perhaps most haunting is the fundamental dehumanization of death itself. For millennia, humans have grappled with the profound moral weight of taking another human life, even in warfare. When machines make life or death decisions without conscience, empathy is erased entirely. Morality is reduced to lines of code. The value of human life becomes a calculation rather than a sacred principle. A world on the edge. The proliferation of autonomous weapons represents a global threat. When one nation develops killer robots, rivals rush to develop their own capabilities, accelerating an arms race often at the expense of ethical consideration or adequate safety testing. Advanced military technology rarely remains confined to major powers. Weapons proliferate to smaller nations, non-state actors, and terrorist organizations. The relatively low cost and accessibility of drone technology and AI software means autonomous weapons could soon be in the hands of rogue states or extremist groups who lack ethical constraints or accountability mechanisms. Autonomous weapons introduce dangerous unpredictability into international relations. A sensor malfunction or algorithmic error could cause an autonomous weapon to attack an unintended target, triggering retaliatory responses that rapidly escalate into broader conflict. The speed at which autonomous systems operate, making decisions in milliseconds, means humans may lose the ability to de-escalate situations before they spiral out of control. Meanwhile, international law lags dangerously behind technological reality. Legal concepts like meaningful human control remain poorly defined and hotly debated. What constitutes sufficient human oversight? How much autonomy is acceptable? These questions create a dangerous legal vacuum where weapons are developed and deployed faster than the international community can establish governing rules. The world is teetering on the edge of a fundamentally new kind of warfare, where machines, not humans, hold the power to decide who lives and who dies. Where we stand today. Partially autonomous weapons systems are already widely deployed across multiple nations. Drones with AI-assisted targeting help human operators identify potential targets more quickly. Sentry guns with autonomous surveillance maintain constant vigilance along borders. Loitering munitions search for specific target types with minimal human guidance. Some systems may already be operating with full lethal autonomy in active conflict zones. International concern is rising. United Nations bodies have held discussions about autonomous weapons. Non-governmental organizations, particularly Human Rights Watch and the Campaign to Stop Killer Robots, actively advocate for strict international oversight or outright bans. Some nations have called for new treaties specifically addressing these systems. However, technology continues advancing at breakneck speed, consistently outpacing regulatory efforts. A2I perception capabilities improve with each new algorithm. Computational power increases exponentially. Miniaturization makes autonomous systems smaller, cheaper, and more accessible. Meanwhile, international regulation struggles to keep pace, hampered by geopolitical competition and national security concerns. The battlefield is evolving, and humans are steadily losing full control over the weapons we've created. A possible nightmare future. If current trends continue unchecked, we could face a truly nightmarish future. Entire battlefields could be dominated by autonomous machines, making split-second kill decisions without human oversight. Swarms of drones, unpredictable and relentless, could overwhelm human-operated defenses. A single technical malfunction could trigger automated retaliatory responses, spiraling into full-scale war before human leaders even realize conflict has begun. Consider AI, integrated with comprehensive surveillance networks, deployed not just against foreign enemies, but to control domestic populations or suppress political dissent. Authoritarian regimes could deploy autonomous weapons to maintain power with ruthless efficiency. Imagine rogue actors, terrorist organizations, criminal syndicates, or unstable individuals deploying autonomous weapons cheaply and easily, turning crowded cities into killing zones. The technology that once required nation-state resources becomes accessible to anyone with sufficient technical knowledge. Perhaps most insidious is the gradual erosion of moral norms surrounding warfare and violence. As death becomes a mere calculation and war becomes mechanized, we risk losing the ethical constraints that have limited humanity's worst impulses. The stakes could not be higher, nothing less than the future of human life, and our fundamental moral values hang in the balance. The fight against killer robots. Despite these terrifying possibilities, all is not lost. Significant forces are pushing back against uncontrolled development of autonomous weapons. International organizations continue debating regulations designed to preserve meaningful human oversight over lethal decisions. NGOs maintain pressure on governments and militaries, advocating forcefully for bans on fully autonomous weapons. Ethicists and legal scholars work to develop frameworks emphasizing accountability, transparency, and human responsibility. They argue for clear lines that should never be crossed. Technical experts propose safeguards, requiring human-in-the-loop designs for all lethal decisions, mandatory kill switches allowing immediate human override, bias mitigation techniques to reduce discriminatory errors, and rigorous testing protocols before deployment. Policymakers consider export controls to prevent proliferation, oversight mechanisms to monitor development and deployment, and international verification systems to ensure compliance with emerging norms. The fight to maintain meaningful human control over AI in warfare is ongoing, difficult, and far from certain to succeed, but it remains absolutely critical. We stand at a genuine crossroads. One path leads to a world dominated by cold, calculating machines, making life and death decisions without conscience or compassion. The other path leads to a world where humans remain firmly at the center of moral decision-making, where AI serves as a tool, augmenting human judgment rather than replacing it. We must ask ourselves, do we want machines deciding who lives and who dies? The answer we give will define warfare's future and humanity's future. The time for decision is now, before autonomous weapons become so entrenched that turning back becomes impossible. Silence and inaction are how the worst scenarios become reality. We must speak up, engage in this conversation, and demand that our leaders maintain meaningful human control over the power of life and death. Our humanity depends on it. See you in the next video.